welcome. Welcome once again. Welcome to IP's webinar series, session 5. We have been conducting in seminars, and today is the 5th seminar. The first one we had was staying connected digitally. The second one during lockdown, the actions to be taken for man and machine safety. Then we had another session called influencer marketing, then creativeness, and we'll start up with the 5th session today. For today's session, we have prepared in certain guidelines for the webinar. The guidelines I'll share in now. Your microphone has been muted. Please don't unmute it. If you're not getting clear audio, please check your internet connection and also switch off your videos. In case of questions or problems, please drop our text at the bottom of the chat windows. This webinar is being recorded for the benefit of members who have not been able to attend. And question and answer session will be held in the end. Please type your questions in the chat window. We'll keep on tracking it. And at the end of the session, we'll ask the speaker to answer the questions. Today's session, as we talked about, we have the session on improved revenue and brand presence with merchandising. Now, majority of the parks we have in India, some of them are practicing, some of them are not practicing on merchandising. Now, when we do not practice on merchandising, we're limited to revenues through gate entry, lockers, rental, costume rentals, and others. Merchandising is one thing which can, be a great figure it can give us. And if you do a comparison, there have been parks world over which have been doing in merchandising, which is much above the gate entry itself. So you can well imagine how important the topic is. And for this topic, we have today with us Mr. Dimant Bakshi. He is a joint CEO at Imagica World Entertainment Limited. He is an alumnus of Inside France, having done senior leadership programs and postgraduate in marketing management from Wellinger Institute. He is self-motivated, profitability and people-oriented professional. His career spans over 25 years in retail and entertainment business across organizations such as Shoppers Stop, Future Group, Reliance Retail, Globus, and now at Imagica. Proven proficiency in strategic planning and meticulous execution. He has experience in revenue enhancement, managing change, brand and category management with special interest in challenging business situations of turnarounds. He conceptualized and set up retail business at Imagica as a greenfield project and successfully developed merchandise portfolio based on intellectual property and achieving break-even less than a year through lean planning and meticulous implementation. He's also been integral in IP-based characters designing and development. Over the years, he has grown through the ranks, and now he's the joint CEO, Imagica World Entertainment Limited, with PLN and brand responsibilities. He has keen interest in field of education and sports as hobbies and mentors upcoming entrepreneurs with the new business ventures. May I request Mr. Dimant Bakshi to kindly take over from here onwards and guide us. Over to the speaker, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is indeed my pleasure to be here on this webinar, and my sincere compliments to the entire IIP team for putting up such a wonderful front, and in such difficult times, how each and every effort has been made, right from representations to bringing the entire fraternity together for a wonderful initiative. So to begin with, I'll just start my screen sharing. Can you see the screen? Hello?
No, Dimant, we are not able to see the screen.
Yeah, just on the side. Can you see it now?
Yes. Now
Yeah.
Yes.
So for today's topic, which is around improving revenue and brand presence with merchandising, I sincerely want to compliment each and every park owner and the FEC owners who have come across and come ahead and set up an entire happiness related projects. And it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of money, and of course to keep a project running on a day in day out basis is itself is a big effort and a challenge. So like Anuj rightly said, the main source of revenue, of course, in a entertainment venture is the ticketing revenue stream, followed by food and beverage. However, merchandising as a proposition is generally not being, let's say, looked at as a revenue measure which could drive not only good revenue, but also amazingly strong brand presence. So I'll begin my session today with a flow which goes like this. One, what is it that retail in parks business look like? How is it a journey of smiles from park to home? Second is how well we can do branding with merchandising. Third will be about how do we build a proposition? Really, what do we do in terms of need gap analysis, and how does the range build as a process work? Next, we get on to process of creativity translated into commercial viability, and what are the various steps that one takes into account, and how do we see that entire journey together? Next would be how the entire effort of creating merchandise is translated into fantastic visual merchandising, which not only is aesthetically appealing, but generates impulse for people to buy. And my presentation would not be complete if we do not cover social distancing and the measures that we need to take for COVID-19 aspect from retail aspect. So there is a fantastic adage which says, goods well bought are half sold. This is where merchandising really comes into play as to how do you identify products, how do you source products, and at what cost do you source the product. If these parameters are well looked at, you consider half your job done because customers are going to buy that product in any case. As Sam Walton of Walmart said, successful retailing is nothing but to give customers what they want. It's a very simple statement, but it talks about demand forecasting, it talks about managing supply chain, it talks about sourcing to the utmost detailing, and of course, pricing and planning promotions right. So this one sentence actually covers the entire gamut of retailing. Now, when we look at the successful retail models, what do we really look at? Successful retailing is as good as how you see in entertainment or any other business. It's like an orchestra, and there are multiple players and multiple performers who come together and bring the entire aspect of retailing right. So one out of sync musician in an orchestra, what it can do is exactly what happens even in retail scenario. So let's talk about the softer aspect of retail, which is designing and creativity. So when one has to create products or create formats, of course, it will start with ideas and brainstorming sessions happen, and we come across interesting opportunities. These ideas then get translated into the designing process and in turn generates designs, which is what gets used for sourcing or manufacturing. These are then manifested into actual desirable products and services which a customer can buy or consume. So this is aspect one, which is more the creative, the journey of creativity to translating into products. The second aspect comes, which is hardcore science and mathematics, where one has to get down to detailing of understanding and anticipating consumer behavior. So why would a consumer buy something, or what is it that would make them look for a product, and why should they buy from you in the first place? Second is, how do you make good quality products? When you say good quality products, essentially we are saying for a value that a customer has paid, are you able to give that desired value to the consumer? Third comes planning inventory and making sure that promotions are planned well. So these are the hardcore mathematics and science oriented matters wherein which you need to be very, very specific to what you do. And of course comes the aspect of negotiations. Third would be eye for detail. Like any other consumer formats, retail or merchandising or entertainment, we have to be very detailed oriented and we need to get into minute details. And we should be able to anticipate and respond to changing dynamics in the business scenario. So that's something wherein which the observation as well as eye for detail comes into play. And nothing is complete without having passion for customer service. So our journey of the ability to delight our customers day in, day out with our products, services, experiences that we provide have to be done tirelessly with a smile today, tomorrow, and always. So that's really, while you can get the first three skills learned, the fourth is the element of your heart, and it only happens if you believe in it, if you have desire for it, and you're willing to forego your weekly holidays, etc., and make sure that you want to make your customer happy. Once that's done, I think rest all can fall into place. So the entire journey of a retail aspect should transit into something like this or something like this. Essentially, the entire effort of designing, creativity, brainstorming, sourcing, buying and merchandising, manufacturing, good product packaging, everything has to transit into very, very enticing and inviting store format, which will welcome you and say that now it's time you buy me. However, the layout, the skeleton of a store looks like this. And this is exactly how you plan your store, by saying that where do products get placed, how much space do I need to plan for people to move conveniently, how many merchandise or how many items per fixture I can stock, and how should I place my product adjacencies. So what should come next to what, and why should that be done in that manner? This is exactly how a store layout would look like, and then a store layout is translated into what you see here. Okay, so let me start with a very fundamental question of why retail. So it is a revenue segment with a absolutely fantastic opportunity to penetrate your brand. This is a park experience is enjoyed, but you only can carry memories, but you really do not carry a tangible product with you. A food and beverage item is consumed and you do not have it as a memoir. Whereas this is one category where you can retain that in a physical memory form of the brand association that you had. And this is why we think retail is an extremely important aspect to a park and an FEC format. It has potential to earn at least 5 to 10%, at least in Indian scenario, to begin with. Proof of concept is already available in the Indian park scenario as well. It is not something that we have to read in international reports and say that, okay, wow, what's happening globally? It's happening right in our backyard, and let us try and make that happen at all parks across the country. It should not be limited to 1 or 2 parks. And this entire journey is out of your own developed products. It does not include third-party products or third-party space let-out businesses or vendor-managed inventory-based, wherein which you only get commission and you are really neither sourcing nor you are selling. It's just space on an format. This is what I'm talking about is completely done by us, by Indian Park. And it also leads to average margin realization of 40-45% plus. So if you look at it, it almost contributes 2.5 to 3% of your profitability at the bottom line. Some of the global parks have almost 25% or even higher in this category. So, but it will of course depend on what is the kind of intellectual properties you have, how many how much space have you allocated to do retailing, and how deep you want to go. Of course, it comes along with the cost of inventory. However, it's a large opportunity, and to begin with, 5 to 10% is I would say very comfortable as a number to begin with. In one of my session earlier, I was asked that okay, it would generate 5 to 10% of revenues. But how much inventory would I need to put, and should I put that inventory in the first place? So I can very comfortably tell you that inventory investments need not be very high when you begin with. The planning has to be done phase-wise, so that depending on any park, whether it is a multi-park operation or a single park operation or small park operation in B towns or C towns, do not worry. You don't have to import containers and containers out of China or Vietnam or any other places. There is a lot of good manufacturing and sourcing that is happening locally in India. There are good vendors, there are good people who will support you. And you don't need to, if you have the desire to build your own line or to partner with someone in your own lines, do not think that inventory is an entry barrier in terms of investment. Yes, visiting to our parks are very high on emotions. I think it's a great feeling to be part of park business. In my earlier career, I have always been a retailer selling merchandise in retail stores like Shoppers Stop, Future Group. When I came to this venture and I saw what we are giving is, we are a business of happiness. We are giving amazing memories for people for their lifetime. And this is the time when customers are really high on emotions. They have ample dwell time. And more often than not, they have ample willingness to spend money. It's just about how much opportunities are we laying in front of them so that they can spend more at your park. Apart from giving immense amount of happiness into our park attractions and experiences that we all provide tirelessly, I think it's also important to have them carrying some inventory or some mementos or some good products from our portfolio, which stays in their home. We should have a dream to penetrate every household through the medium of IRP, wherein which all park owners unite and say that we will have something or the other, that each and every customer of ours, wherever they are, whichever part of the country, should carry something back home. And that's something which I would really hope that we arrive at towards this session. It should be like a take merchandise pledge. So when it comes to various segments in retail, there are products like merchandise. There are product categories within that could be souvenirs, fashion wear, general merchandise, toys, school essentials, swimwear, innovative to target. Now, depending on the location of the park or place where you are located, you may not be able to offer the entire width and depth of this entire product portfolio. So to start with, choose based on what kind of a target audience that you can get, select your product portfolio. And essentially, you will see that many a times guests that come, people who are working professionals or different segments. Their behavior in our place is simply something which is so different, because that is where they are escaping. That is where they are having a feeling of cutting loose, right? So this is the time they are most experimentative in terms of products and the categories that they can try. They are not always looking at only simple products. Yes, you should keep simple and regular products, but the need for them to have is to have a lot of fun. So whether you decide to do school-led business more, or if you are a water park, obviously there will be more swimwear. If you are having a lot of school and children-based profile, there would be a lot of toys and general merchandise. Whatever is your customer profile around the board, what is my area of focus and what I would like to do. So largely, when you will create a merchandise line, you will either do a signature line, which is very, very specific to, very unique about what you have done or created. You might have a premium signature line. A second
one request, Mr.
segment,
Dimmin.
yeah.
Can just hold you for a second? I would request, there are complaints coming up of sound distortion. So if you can just turn off your video, it might help.
Yeah.
Just your video,
Yeah, I'm doing that.
not the
Yeah.
presentation, please.
Yeah, obviously. I hope that now it should be better.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, sorry. So
Yeah, it's
essentially,
better now.
yeah. So when you are creating the merchandise line, essentially on the signature based line, like I've said, where you, if you have something very iconic about your property or your brand or what you have created, you could build a nice premium line around it, limited though in number, but it could be something very interesting to look at. Second is your brand specific line, and I would give you some examples of it as to how you can make this a very wearable and a brand option which you can carry in your day-to-day life. Important thing is, it should, let's look at building a product portfolio which is not limited to only your refrigerators or in your home. While you are at work or while you're going in any other places, it should be, you should be able to carry that with you. And that's where the badge value concept comes in. And more people will see your brand. And that's where, how you take your brand outside of your park. Third category is really to do thematic line driven around attractions, and where you are able to say that, okay, so in Imagica we have a ride called Nitro. So we have built products around Nitro in that sense, or it's very ride specific. Likewise, each of you will have some rides or some specific attractions where you can create a nice story around it and build designs and graphics and carry it onto your products. This is what becomes something very relatable to your park, and it is not only available. It's not something which is available anywhere and everywhere. It's only available with you. So when you create that kind of exclusivity, wherein which people coming to you get something very unique and something very desirable, that's when spends increase, and that's when customer delight rises. The fourth such segment is character baseline. If you have IPs and if you have content driven opportunity, I'm sure there is many places in India where even the location specific, if you are located in specific part of the country, you can blend it with your park's identity and build it so nicely that it becomes yet another opportunity to buy. So largely speaking, you can see 4 mainstream revenue opportunities in retail. One would be merchandise line around your park, and the 5 subtopics that I explain. Different services and experiences such as park-wide arcade games or activities or special experiences that one would be able to do. Photos and motion-based imaging, which is essentially driving memories and something which you can retain with you. And fourth opportunity could be personalized products. So anything and everything with your name or with what message you want to get developed is yet another opportunity. This definitely requires certain scale, at the same time feasibility options, and that's why I've seen many, more often than not, personalized products have not really been as prevalent in Indian parks. However, people have tried. Yeah, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So this is what best example I could give for a themed based line. So we don't need to introduce what Star Wars is to anybody out here. But what they have done is really created an entire gamut of opportunities. And this is one of the blockbuster merchandising example for people to see. It's really generated millions of dollars for people in terms of revenue opportunity alone. Now, this is what Indian parks have been able to do by creating lines around their characters. So right from neck pillows to towels to soft toys to t-shirts, there is an entire product opportunity that has been created in India as well. Yeah, some more examples, I'll skip this. Okay, so we are saying this is journey of smiles beyond park. In a park atmosphere, like we said, there is high energy and fun. There are lifetime memories and quality time with your dear ones. And therefore, it is a perfect formula for intent to spend. And if we give enough and more opportunities for people, there would be a lot more that we can generate in terms of the ARPU realizations. High energy is most appropriate for shopping formats. And like I said, it just adds up to be a perfect formula for shopping. So what are the different retail formats that, so now we'll get more onto, since we have covered more the conceptual side of it, now let's look at how do we get on to implementing what we are thinking of. So largely store formats are, so retail formats are divided in a park scenario with the store which are flagship stores or attraction store formats which are defined. They are supported by kiosks which are laid out park-wide, and there are mobile carts and free-standing units which are generally kept around. I will quickly show you in the following slide what I mean. So this is a classic example of a retail store. I'm sure everybody understands and knows that, so I won't really dwell upon it. So what you see on your left-hand side of the screen is a classic case of kiosks, which are most appropriate for environments where there are likely the rain impact or very sunny situations. This is where they create shade and give you a kiosk format. Whereas what you see on the right-hand side, which is more gaming kiosk, which is typically operated at certain time of the year. So therefore, this is defined as a format design. What you see here are freestanding units as well as kiosks, which could be made mobile. Now, across our park, you will see customers moving at different time of the day, and the movement is large. Therefore, if your format could move in line with customers' movement, there is an opportunity to sell more and more. So essentially, by designing these mobile carts and FSUs, one has to try and make it as thematic in look, but industrial in strength, because most of us operate in open air, and weather conditions in India are not the most soft in that sense. You need to look at more from durability point of view, so that anything that looks good also lasts that long in terms of your investment. So having said that, as as much weatherproof we can make it better for us. And there are certain specific materials that are best used, which give durability to your units. As much mobility that we can provide to our fixtures and our kiosks, better it gets, as that is what can help you upsell and have flexibility to move in difficult weather conditions also. Okay, now let's get on to creating products. So having identified retail fixtures and format to sell, let's see what we can sell in it. So like I was talking about brand-led merchandise, this is what we could see. So one of the most important investment after having made in creating a park is time and energy and efforts made in saying that what would your park be called, or how would your logo look like, what are the kind of colors that you use in your logo, what do they depict in terms of your brand identity, and what is the customer's interpretation of your brand. These are some very, very large questions that all of us grapple with, and many times we even undergo change of brands with that belief that how we can engage more with the time. So of course your brand logo needs to be attractive. It needs to be adaptable to different formats. So whether you are creating a signage in a neon, or whether you are creating embroidery logo on your t-shirt, or whether you are printing signages park wide, or whether your ad is coming out in the prints, in the newsprints, or you want to use the logo digitally. This is the wide gamut of a logo selection. A logo selection is not about what it looks like and how well your creative agency has made a lovely presentation and we get impressed with it. It's about how much and what it can do in the real life scenario, and how much we can extend that brand logo in overall scheme of things. So therefore, when you are deciding the brand logo, I would sincerely urge you that you would think about how logo would look like, what value it conveys, does it stand for your identity. But also please think about, can a logo be stitched on your t-shirt? Can a logo be well printed? What will be the cost of those output going forward? And how could be multiple application? So once we have done that, we then say that, okay, fine, let's build a brand line, because many people who come to our park because of what we have created and what brand values they associate. And they are very happy to carry our brand logos. But please do not just take logo and stamp it or stick it like a promotional t-shirt. That's where a fine line comes between a well-designed product to a promotional item. Please do not make your brand a promotional item unless you are giving it for distribution or you are doing a promotional activity. But when you are selling and when you are expecting a customer to pay a price for it, please don't think they would like to just buy something which is poorly designed. So what you would like to wear as a person is what should be your base benchmark and go above in terms of design output. People will be happy to pay for it if you create that opportunity for them. So having created a good brand logo, how well you can create brand presence. So some of the points I covered in terms of how do you apply it in merchandising. And second is how well you incorporate it in your overall packaging designs, or the kind of packaging that you provide, can that live the value of your brand. And the more and more people carry your brand, whether as a merchandise or your packaging or your bags, it only increases your brand visibility and it leads to recall. And recall would have direct proportional relationship to revenue. Third, many times when we do promotions and visibility, please try and plan promotions around your branded own products rather than just giving discounts. Many times by giving freebies around your products with your logo only helps you to take that brand further ahead, and it will only propel visibility for you. one more aspect to our brand is to try and connect it to some social initiative and participate wherein which the happiness that we provide to customers at large, we also can make a difference through a very nice and humane communication. So look at the example of Universal Studio out here that you see. The entire line that you see here is complete brand line. They have used their logo so beautifully that it not only goes on a t-shirt, it goes on a keychain, it goes on a fridge magnet, it goes on zippers, it goes on bags. Amazing work. I mean, Universal has done, especially when it comes to logo adaptation. So the list of these product categories could be some, but it is up to our imagination and our requirements as to where all do we use products at large. And depending on your customer profile and your location, please select what works well for you. So now let's talk about how do we identify need gaps and how do you build proposition as leg one. So when we have built such a large parks in different locations across, let's understand how will customer move in your park, at what time of the day, what will they like to do, and what are your products and services that will, you can actually plan a force circulation logically, right? Whether you open one side of the park or the second side of the park, or you are keeping some rides open at certain time, depending on your format. Let's look at how a customer moves and what are their needs in certain time of the day. Example, in a very sunny place, a cap is a very basic requirement. In seasons of monsoon, you may need a poncho, or you may need a wind cheaters, or you may need an umbrella. Or especially when children come to your place, first thing they would look for is ice creams, or so on and so forth. So whatever that customer movement flow is, how do you really plan that entire set of merchandise and where do you place them? So we are talking about now saying that identify and define product portfolio based on your location and seasons, right? Third, depending on what your park stands for, please identify what your core products are. In many locations you will see, because the park profile is such that, I mean, one of the most preferred products in apparel is t-shirts, especially when they come to your park. Nobody really comes formally dressed. Everybody's coming to cut loose. And that's when, if the design is desirable, they do end up buying products from you. Next comes, how do you benchmark pricing? At what price will you sell your product? So essentially, when you have a certain ticket price established, you are seeing that there is a certain set of profile that will come in certain seasons. So depending on the season and your profile point of view, let's identify what product works best, and having kept a certain pricing, you can keep promotions to derive more sales and make it more value for money for a person. When Imagica was designing the line, we looked at private brands of certain retail stores like Westside, Shoppers Stop, and we said pricing should be such that if you are going to any store of a value-driven format, you should be able to say that, okay, I get t-shirt of a round neck t-shirt at Westside, example, at $3.99. I should be in that range. I should not be at $7.99 thinking that I'll be able to charge a premium. It doesn't work like that. And if there are few takers, it will never give you the desired volume and traction in your numbers. So important is to be sensitive to pricing and make sure that at least the items per customer is increased and how much more people can buy from you. Having identified the need gap and understood the range part of it, let's come to what is the range build. So range would essentially mean talking about quality products, or how do you build in-house designing capability, where do you do a business plan, and how do you really start investing in your inventory overall, and how do you tranche? So how much money you should spend in round one, round two, and how do you ramp up your inventory overall. Whatever merchandise that you thought of, it has to ultimately translate into a planogram. It has to look nice, and that's what a planogram is all about in terms of color blocking, depth, and visual impact. So coming to the journey of creativity to commercial viability, a cardinal principle for this is don't buy what you like, buy what your customer would like to buy. Many times our own personal preferences overpower the products, and that's not what we should be looking at. So this flowchart is self-explanatory. It essentially says first you get into brainstorming, build upon consumer insights, write a written design creative brief, even to your design team, saying that manifest this into designs and graphics, create prototypes, make sure that entire uh, uh, is done based on consumer panel, initiate the process, get prototypes done. Finally, whatever you have selected based on user trials, incorporate that into your bulk production, display products as per your planogram and start selling. Once you have seen the performance of it for a certain time frame, you could define and determine parameters for assessment. So some of the most common assessment parameters are sell-through percentage. So if you bought 100, how much have you sold at full price in the given time frame? How much is your sales to stock ratio? What is your sales per square feet, and what is your margin per square feet? So these are some parameters that will quickly tell you where you need to be. Yeah. Then we come to visual merchandising and how we create impulse. So you've seen in some of the earlier visuals how people have uh, been, after having created a product, how well have they displayed and made the entire store and the proposition welcoming. And nothing goes without saying that Kidfluence is godly for us, and anything around kids products is very important. So when you design and shortlist fixtures, please select it in such a way that it can draw more and more kids to come and shop from you. So this is what they do essentially in terms of creating impact. And when you see so many of them so nicely kept, something or the other is going to attract you and you're going to buy. So similarly for your daily other products. Okay, now coming to the hottest topic of the season, social distancing and what we really do in current scenario. So for water parks, I think rented swimwear could become one of the biggest problems and challenges, because that's really a huge concern when it comes to hygiene. Anyways, it is always difficult to maintain good quality of rented products, and furthermore assuring a guest that this is not a problem is going to be a challenge. Thus, there are a lot of disposable options that one can get these days. If customers get their own swimwear, nothing like it. But if they have not, we can work out a range wherein which it has to be within just above your rental pricing, so that it does not really pinch their pockets. So I think it's very important to think about this particular option, especially for all water parks. Similarly, for snow parks, when you have to give, jackets are generally higher in cost. So it is unlikely that people will have it one-time usage or will carry it from home, because it's not the most convenient. Therefore, here in terms of the inventory and how we ensure that it conveys hygiene is a point to really ponder upon. Products that are leading to trials in your store should be minimized for first few months, and measurement charts should be well clearly displayed, saying that this product, when you see here, a medium size means this, and you know by looking at it whether it will fit you or not, rather than they having to open, and therefore standardization of your size charts and products that you offer needs consistency. A lot of symbol-driven signage is what I've seen of late, which becomes very easy for people to understand. A lot of signages are very verbose and written in many words. I don't think that's something which would help, especially in this situation. So probably we all can think about it. These are all thoughts, and we can refine as we go along. In terms of inventory for current period, I would suggest that we stock not very high in terms of quantum, but we operate mid or low density and have more unopened products which you can offer when a customer demands a product that they want to take away, so that we have assured hygiene. Contactless payments and transaction approach is what we could adopt, wherein which floor signages could be used, wherein which guests can stand for their queue, for the turn, for the cash tills, and queue management can be done with a good safe distance. Wherever possible, scanners could face the customers and customers can scan the products by themselves, which would lead to less handling by the cashiers of your products that you want to buy. Carry bags itself can be provided to them like a self-help dispensing format, where the entire transaction can be made contactless. For this particular period, exchange policy of products also need to be reviewed and reduce contamination through this effort, and customers will know that your exchange policies are stringent and unlikely that you will get somebody else's product to you. And it is a statement of assurance. It may not be most customer friendly at this point of time, important measure for building customer confidence. Easy delivery system easy delivery system for picking items that you purchase in the beginning of the day could be made available at the exit, so that you don't have to really carry it around, and we avoid contamination as well as convenience for people to move up. So one of the things that have been very interesting for us as a learning, the situation of COVID, what is it that could be good for all the park operators and owners and manufacturers? Like how you have B2B and B2C as a relationship that you see, why not have park to park or manufacturers to park as a relationship, wherein which there is more collaboration? And since some of our parks are all in different regions and we attract very different segment and type of customers at a particular point of time, there could be a lot more synergy which could build more habit for this category and segment more. So example, if IPs are shared, or if attractions are co-owned, or if there are more and more joint idea or knowledge sharing, or if one park helps another to create some things, we should probably look at, it's just a set of thoughts that I thought we will table, since the entire fraternity is here on the same platform. We could really build this as a united force, and because we are going to face a challenge for now, but when we have to rebound and when we have to really revive as a business opportunity, what can we all do together? So with this, I come to the end of my presentation, and I wish you all a very happy and successful retailing. Over to you, Mr. Anuj.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much, Dimit. It was really great understanding in the retail selling and merchandising. I think it is a great topic, and most of the members would have benefited from it. I'll just share in my slide now. Could you please unshare your screen, Mr. Dimit? So we'll probably have question answer sessions. I'll open up the questions which I have already received in. So the first question, one second. Yeah, may I request to unmute Mr. Ashutosh Kale, if he can add up a few more words before we start up with the question answer session.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Ashutosh. Yeah, Mr. Ashutosh, welcome. May we request you to give some more feedback on this?
Yes. Actually, it was as always, a very detailed and a very exhaustive presentation. And I really don't have much to add. I just want to add one or two important points, which probably Dimant in his run-up because of the time could not cover. You know, the brand Imagica as it stands today, a large amount of credit goes to the merchandising and retail that Dhimant introduced. When we started this journey, most of us actually did not know anything about retail and merchandising. We were customers and we had all our advices, but we were really not merchandisers and retailers. He was the only thoroughbred retailer amongst us. And it is to his credit that he took all our advice, like we take advice of people who come into our park and keep telling us what to do. So he came in and he took our advice, but he actually had a lot of faith and he had a lot of in-depth knowledge in what he was doing. And he helped create this retail line and merchandising, which helped in creating brand Imagica. So today, when you have people coming in from the north, a family will come in and probably pick up a tubby and they'll pick up another 2 tubbies because they want to give it to the neighbor's kids. That is the power of merchandising. And that is the penetration that the brand has created, apart from the recall value and the silent marketing that it does. So kudos to him. And I think from a platform where merchandising never existed in India, in parks, he's the man who singularly kind of steered in this movement and brought it to what it is. And the fruit is in for all of us to see. So that is the power of merchandising, and I think that is the message that you all need to carry through this presentation that is so beautifully given to us.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Thank you for adding such beautiful words to it. And I think I'll take in the questions now. The first question is from Mr. Rajesh Rai Singhania. He has got 2 questions. The first question I'll read in. Hello, Dimant. Do you manufacture all your products or you produce, what is this? Or do you procure yourself your products from China? And in the current scenario, where will you opt to purchase from?
Yeah, so we do not have our own manufacturing facility directly, but we have been sourcing products right from India, China, as well as Vietnam in earlier times. Over a period of last 7 years of sourcing, we have been slowly reducing share of imports, and it comes at a good time, wherein which anyways I think we all want to make in India, or at least not buy from China. So almost 85% of our products now are locally sourced and can be done in lesser volumes also. So our dependency on China is going down significantly, and we would not want to buy from them.
Okay. So I'll take in the next question from Mr. Arul Raj. Is there any company in India that will create a line of merchandise exclusively for us? If yes, can you give me few references? I'll request not to give in the company names directly because we're not promoting any company directly. You can share it with him in person, but you can just guide him.
Yeah. Arul, you can get in touch with me. We will be more than happy to connect you to a few people. More than happy to help you to create what you need.
Okay, I have next question is from Ms. Kisle. Sir, can you please help with good soft toy manufacturers in India who can develop mascots and soft toys? Again, the question is quite similar, so I'll request not to name the companies. But
No, I won't name, but you all can connect with me offline. We can connect you to different people. You can independently evaluate their products in terms of quality, pricing, convenience of supply chain. You can decide that, and please, by all means, the purpose of this exercise is that we all have characters and merchandise in our parks. So obviously, we will need suppliers. We will not use this platform, but go and source. Yeah.
So I'm specifically again requesting in all members because I've willingly requested Mr. Dimant not to name the companies because we're not promoting any company. So excuse me.
Sure, absolutely.
So next question, I'll again take it. Next question, I'll again take it from Mr. Utkarsh. What are your thoughts on selling merchandise now through an e-commerce platform during park closure for 5 to 6 months? Will it help park survive?
Yeah, so I'm happy to tell you that Imagic has been selling merchandise online right from 2013, October 31st. So we launched our products on Flipkart and Amazon and some of these places. We must go online as well because it is very important that your brand is not only visible when they come to your park alone, but if it is visible on Amazon, Myntra, Jabong, Flipkart, whichever are your formats, First Cry, please, it is not always very easy to get into these online portals for obvious reasons because the kind of catalogs they maintain. But if you can, I would sincerely urge all of you to do that. Be great.
Yeah, I think we'll have to add up the brand name first, and then probably we can definitely, you know, with times to come in, we can sail in the boat.
कहीं से तो शुरू करना है.
Next question.
शुरू करेंगे.
Yeah, exactly. So next question I'll take it is of Mr. Ashwin Dange. His question is, what is your thought on customized merchandising like custom keychains and customer photos extra?
Yes, sir, like I said, customized products are very, very appropriate for our parks all across. And if we are able to manage either, see in this case, what I've generally seen is that either you have to buy that equipment and keep churning it. Moment you have a third party operator who has to get a revenue share out of this entire arrangement, then it's not always very feasible. So if commercials are sorted out, I think customized products are the best thing that we can give, and that's something which will carry as ultimate memories. I agree with you, Mr.
I will take a next question again from Mr. Rajesh Rajanghani itself. What is the profit margin on your products? What % of revenue do you propose to invest in the merchandise segment? So I think the first question might be more eligible to us to understand. And
yeah. No, of course, both questions are interlinked because see, if you look at different product categories, they have different margin structures. So if you look at something like an apparel, or if I'm saying clothing like a t-shirt or a track pant, or leaving aside swimming costumes, you can easily get nothing less than 70 to 75% markup on your goods if you have designed it well. And for that, sourcing is what matters, and sourcing will depend on how much quantity you buy. So therefore, they both are interlinked to some extent. See, in your first round of product development, I would suggest that even if you get to operate from 45 to 50% of markup to begin with, which is not an ideal markup for clothing line, it has to be more. But if you want to test with smaller lot size of manufacturing, I would urge you that first try it out. Don't try and maximize your margins in the first round. See what the product is looking like. How is it quality? Test it with smaller investment. And what kind of designs and colors are selling. So,
Mr. Dimant, could you please
that benchmark? If you look at souvenirs would be.
Mr. Dimant, would request to repeat it again because your voice was cracking. Mr. Dimant, can you hear me? Mr. Dimant, can you hear us? I'm sorry, I think we have disconnected with Mr. Dimant. May I request, in case Mr. Rajiv Chalnapurkar is there online, could you please unmute him?
He is not, I think.
Anybody would like to ask in any question? Or add up a statement to it?
Rajiv, sir? Rajesh, sir, can you hear me? Rajiv sir, are you there? I have been unmuted him, but there's some disturbance.
Okay, maybe. So, anyways, we'll end up the session because we have timed it also. Before ending the session, maybe go to the next slide and maybe a request IP to upload a feedback form, please. All the guests are requested to kindly fill in the feedback form so that it can enable us to understand how useful the session was to you and how you feel about the session. May I request everybody to kindly fill up the form.
Yes.
In addition to this, we have been requesting in guests to share in their videos, their response and other feedbacks to IIP so that we can, help you better in this. And we'll continue having in various sessions, which will keep on going in for the next 1 month at least so far. And your feedbacks are very helpful to us. I would even request everybody, it's not limited to only owners, but even senior management also. Before opening in, definitely we need to have certain SOPs to be formulated in. Even if, for example, if I take about merchandising, we might require to have in masks and sanitizers and other things to be sold in merchandising also. So there need to be SOPs for everything we're doing. We need to have. I would request everybody to send in their feedbacks, mail, whatever forms you can send in, whatever format you can send in the details to us. We'll try to consolidate it and make it one format, one single format for every park to follow in. It will be again, depending upon park, whether to follow it or not, but we are definitely making the standard practice for every park so that we are all standing on the same platform. So I would request everybody to prepare in a SOP on how they plan to open up the park, how they plan to do markings for various things. So that may kindly be sent as early as possible. And just for information, the next session again, as promised, would be on the coming Thursday. And the speaker is Mr. Pradeep Sharma, who is chairman of Bombay Amusement Machines. And he'll be talking about Bureau of Indian Standards for Amusement Industry, manufacturers, important guidelines. So we'll try to ensure that whatever, the guidelines have been prepared in for amusement industry, those are shared in, and this hard times we can work, spend more time on, at home and start learning about it.
Kevin, we have Dimant back.
With that, I'd like to thank you, everyone. Yeah, we need to thank him. Mr. Dimant, can you hear us? Mr. Dimant, can you hear us?
Yes, Anuji, I can hear you.
Yeah, we just wanted to thank you. We lost a connection in between. So we just wanted to thank you. Thank you very much from all the members who were participating in today for a great session. And it was wonderful learning in about merchandising today from you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dimant.
Thank you, Dimant.
And may I request all the members to kindly
My pleasure, sir. And it
go to our
was
YouTube.
an honor to be on this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would request all members to kindly go to our YouTube channel, which is listed over here. The links are being sent to you separately also through IIP. Request everybody to go fill in the subscribe over there so that in case you miss our seminar also, that feedback comes to you. Like it, share it with your friends so that IIP is promoted the nice way. Thank you, everybody. And I'd like to end the session here.
Thank you
once again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.